It wasn't just about the basketball, it was about the fire, the drama, and one unforgettable exchange with Angel Reese. Clark had carried Iowa to the title game with one of the greatest tournament runs anyone had ever seen, dropping 40-point games like they were nothing. On the other side stood LSU, led by Angel Reese, confident, physical, and just as determined to make history. When LSU secured the championship in the final moments, Reese turned toward Clark, waved her hand in front of her face with John Cena's "you can't see me" gesture, and pointed straight at her ring finger. It was mocking, it was bold, and it was instantly viral. That moment sparked days of debates on TV, social media, and talk shows. Was it disrespectful? Was it fair play? Was it revenge for Clark doing the same gesture earlier in the tournament? The truth is, that moment changed everything. Overnight, Caitlin Clark wasn't just the sharpshooter from Iowa anymore. She became the face of a rivalry that grabbed the entire country's attention. For the first time, casual fans who never watched women's basketball were tuning in. But if the LSU clash and Angel Reese's taunt put Caitlin Clark in the spotlight, what came next would ignite an even bigger fire. Because once she stepped into the WNBA, the rivalry, the scrutiny, and the physical play reached an entirely new level. Everyone remembers the hip check. Chicago Sky guard Chennedy Carter blindsided Caitlin Clark off the ball, sending her crashing to the floor. To some, it was just physical defense, a hard foul in a tough league. But to millions watching, it looked like a deliberate cheap shot against the rookie who was drawing all the attention. Within hours, clips of the play went viral. Talk shows debated intent. Fans called it targeting. The WNBA upgraded the foul after review, but the damage was already done. That single moment became the centerpiece of a bigger conversation. Was Caitlin Clark being hunted? And then came something even more brutal. Fast forward to the WNBA playoffs in September. Indiana Fever versus Connecticut Sun. Early in the game, Dejanai Carrington swiped at Clark, her hand catching Caitlin square in the eye. Clark went down in pain, later finishing the game with a visible black eye. Officially, it wasn't called a foul, but the replay told a different story. The swipe didn't look like a normal defensive follow-through. It looked intentional, a targeted move to rough her up. Fans exploded online, furious at both the play and the referees for swallowing the whistle. Two incidents, months apart, and both aimed at the league's brightest star. For the Fever, it confirmed what they already suspected: opponents weren't just playing Clark hard, they were trying to break her. Coaches admitted they warned officials ahead of time. Fans demanded answers. Even before Caitlin's first WNBA game, Diana Taurasi, widely considered the league's greatest player, said Clark was in for a rude awakening. UConn legend Gino Auriemma echoed that fans were delusional if they thought she'd dominate the league right away.
Delusional fan base disrespected the WNBA players by saying she's going to go in that league and tear it apart. These people are so disrespectful and so unknowledgeable and so stupid. And Diana said it best. This kid's in for a rude awakening. This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league. She's just not built for the physicality of this league.
From a veteran perspective, those comments weren't hate, they were warnings. The WNBA is a step up in physicality, experience, and speed. Many rookies stumble. But the way those words were framed and the timing of them landed differently for fans. To Clark's supporters, it sounded dismissive, almost jealous. Here was a player who had just lifted women's basketball into the national spotlight, only to be met with gatekeeping instead of encouragement. And when hard fouls started piling up, those old comments got recycled as evidence that vets weren't just skeptical of Caitlin, they wanted her humbled. In truth, Taurasi and Auriemma were expressing a belief in process and dues paying. But perception is powerful, and the perception was that the WNBA old guard wasn't embracing Caitlin Clark. Instead, they were drawing lines in the sand, challenging her to prove she deserved the hype. What makes this situation unique is the business impact Caitlin brought with her. The WNBA had its most watched regular season in history in 2024. ESPN averaged over 1 million viewers per game, a 170% increase from the previous year. Arenas that once struggled to fill seats were suddenly selling out, especially when the Indiana Fever came to town. Merchandise flew off the shelves, with Clark's jersey ranking among the best sellers in all of basketball. Yet league statements often credited the rookie class or overall growth, rather than spotlighting Clark specifically. That might sound minor, but in a locker room culture where respect matters, it shaped how veterans saw her impact. If the league won't fully admit how much one player changed their bottom line, why should the vets? For fans, though, the numbers tell the truth. Clark was the engine. And while business is booming, the friction comes from who gets the credit and how that affects respect inside the league. Kathy Engelbert, the WNBA commissioner, said publicly that everyone in the league gets bumped and hit. From her perspective, Clark wasn't being singled out. Basketball is a contact sport, but context matters. Millions of new fans were tuning in for the first time, and what they saw was Caitlin Clark taking elbows, hip checks, and shoves with little whistle protection. The optics told a different story. Coaches like Stephanie White admitted they warned referees before games that Clark was being targeted, yet the whistles often came late or not at all. Was this normal rookie treatment? Probably in part. Was it also a case of officials failing to adjust to the new scrutiny? Absolutely. And that gap between perception and enforcement became the fuel for fan outrage. To them, the face of the league was being mistreated. To vets, it was standard toughness. Both perspectives hold truth, but in an era of clips going viral within seconds, perception carries just as much weight as reality. What turned routine fouls into firestorms wasn't just the play itself, it was the way media amplified every second. One clip of a hip check or a shove could rack up millions of views overnight. Headlines framed it as WNBA versus Caitlin Clark. Algorithms rewarded outrage. Suddenly, even measured comments from veterans got clipped, trimmed, and shared as hostile takedowns. This echo chamber hardened positions. Fans felt the league was out to get Clark. Players felt they were under attack from outside voices who didn't understand the grind of professional basketball. And Caitlin, caught in the middle, had to navigate the circus while trying to just play. Media attention is a gift and a curse. It raised the league's profile, but also painted every moment as part of a grand conspiracy. The truth often got lost in the noise. And that's how a normal rookie adjustment period became framed as something bigger, a cultural clash over the future of women's basketball. Every pro league has a culture of rookie tax. From Patrick Beverley sending Lonzo Ball a welcome in the NBA to veterans pushing Zion Williamson early on, it's part of the game. You earn respect through performance. In that sense, Caitlin Clark's rough initiation is not unusual. What makes it unique is the scale of her impact before playing a single minute. She wasn't just another top pick. She was already the face of the WNBA, with Nike deals, packed arenas, and national headlines. For some veterans who spent years grinding with little recognition, that felt unfair. Why should a rookie leapfrog to the top of the mountain? That blend of rookie tax and gatekeeping explains why Caitlin's treatment has been so polarizing. It's not purely hate. It's not purely normal. It's the collision of a young phenom who moved the business needle overnight with a veteran class that wants respect for their years of work. Over time, production usually silences critics. And as Clark continues to prove herself, even her harshest skeptics may shift into respect. Then came the setback. In 2025, Caitlin Clark suffered a groin injury that forced her off the court for weeks. The league felt her absence immediately. Ratings dipped. Ticket resale values plummeted when she wasn't playing. The Fever struggled without her presence. The entire situation exposed the risk of leaning too heavily on one star without protecting her. Fans demanded better officiating and stronger support from the league to ensure their biggest draw wasn't sidelined again. For Clark, it was another test. Could she bounce back physically and mentally? Her return answered that question fast. She dropped over 30 points in her first game back, drilling deep threes and proving she hadn't lost a step. The arena roared, and even opponents couldn't help but smirk at her range. But the injury was a warning. The WNBA has a golden opportunity with Caitlin Clark. Yet if they allow her to take unchecked hits, they risk losing the very momentum she created. The pressure cooker is real. The league's future may hinge on how it balances physicality with protection. So, does the WNBA truly hate Caitlin Clark? The answer is layered. It's not a league-wide vendetta. It's the convergence of rookie tests, veteran pride, inconsistent officiating, and the weight of a new superstar who shifted the sport overnight. The perception of hate comes from a mix of gatekeeping and communication gaps. The reality is that Clark has already proven she belongs. She's an all-star. She's Rookie of the Year. She's one of the most impactful athletes in basketball right now. What needs to happen next is clear. Officials must tighten up consistency, especially off the ball. The league has to give Caitlin credit without alienating veterans. And veterans themselves will eventually realize that embracing Clark doesn't diminish their legacies. It elevates the sport they've worked their whole lives to build.